we start. Sorry. Hey, Libra, and welcome to January 2021's reading. All right, so notifications on silent. Okay. So, I started off with the elements. I have this materia prima, and each element, each card represents an element from the periodic table. Now, I started off the readings with an animal, but when I first started your reading, I did not have my animal cards, but I did this drawing. Funny thing about this is that this is one of these scratch off things. Underneath this owl is a lion, and it shows you like the gray areas of how to cut, how to color to, or how to scrape off to make that lion. But I made an owl instead, which was funny because when I did your animal cards, we got the elk and the griffin, which is a lion and a bird, an eagle. And the elk represents stamina, and the lion represents courage. And on the elk, now I can't get it to stay up. And the elk has like a little poem on each one. On the elks, it says, "Your antlers reach for the sun. Show me that strength and stamina are one." So this is like 2 in 1, strength and stamina. And we know from the elk that with the stamina, slow and steady wins the race, that it's actually no race or who finished first or who's the best. It's working at your own pace and actually working to get what you want, because it's not going to just fall in our laps. So another thing that will help us right now with that is with the elk. Besides mating season, the elks form, like all the males come together, all the females come together, like all the same sex. So right now would be a good time to have like an all girls night out or an all guys thing. Like something with the same sex company is best at this time. So, and we know around mating season, all the males get jealous, or it'll be like, you know, they're fighting for the females. So there's tension between the sexes. So we have to be careful with like ill intent, because we did get polonium, which is you see it's a dark card. Other cards are gold and bright, and you see how dark this is compared to the other one. Polonium. So this element is number 84 on the periodic table. And polonium actually is, and it was in reverse. This book does not give the meanings for like contrary positions, like some. So either you can say that it's the opposite, or not enough, or not, or too much of the meaning. So when we have this, it's very dark. It looks very evil. We have like devil horns, and like this is like ill magic. We got to make sure that our thoughts and what we say, especially about others, is positive. Even our thoughts go out into the, you know, each thought is like a droplet, like a vibration, and it goes and it ripples and it goes out into the universe. So we want to make sure that our thoughts are positive, and we don't want to wish anybody ill intent. And if we're thinking about working with magic, because the eagles are magic and the birds and all that with the griffin, these, you got to be careful when you're using magic too. You don't want to use dark magic. Anything you do good, anything you do, you want to do good, and make sure it's not drawing off the energy of somebody else. So polonium is the last daughter of uranium, and I'll get into that. I'll explain that a little bit. They found that this is like giving birth, and this is like the birthing process is it's not a good one. It hurts. So this is saying that even though we might be going through new beginnings and we might experience some kind of hurt or pain or some kind of gloomy darkness during these new beginnings, it's going to be worth it in the end. This is to soar above your mundane regular life. This has to end so we can soar above that. So we want to make sure that we're dreaming big, because the opportunities right now for you Libra are way high. As long as we're connected to the spirit, we're going to be great. So how this works is that it's like twisting the dragon's tail. So this polonium is very radioactive, very dangerous, very it's very dangerous element, and it's comes like, let's see, it's like a sound comes. So labor, dark mysticism forced a sleeping mother's deep trance. With terrible difficulties, the birthing process rendered seemingly futile, dangerous, and constant were its labors, until at last the illumination of the labor room, bending over the life-giving matter, polonium's living reality, entered the world. It soon became clear that this creature was wary of some sort. Something strange and only visiting, yet significant. Forgive me, the doctor said, as they stared at babbling proof of their wish in their hands, and madness moved into their minds. So, and we got to remember too, that reminds me when we say forgive me, like if we're sorry and we break something, okay, forgive me, that's good words. But like if we break something, we want to make sure that our forgive me is in our actions, not only in our words. Like, okay, forgive me, I broke this, so let me tell you with my actions, I'm sorry, by fixing what I broke. That sort of thing. Like it reminds me, like you can walk the walk, but you gotta talk the talk. You know? That it's more than just forgive me or I apologize. So, daughters of uranium. So, this describes the radioactive decay chain of the naturally occurring uranium. They found that when uranium releases radiation, it can transform itself into a whole new element, or two different elements, and they are called daughters. Uranium had 15 daughters, and polonium is the last of its daughters. Now, uranium on July 16th, 1945, the U.S. detonated the first the world's first atomic bomb. And we are supposed to like do research about these dates or about these like drawing and disciplinary. So internally we are need to be disciplined and possibly research these interests like post-atomic studies, feminist, political ecology, technologies of wars and histories of medicine and science. Like all these are good for a reason. Mark Kavanaugh documented this military and nuclear sites in 4 U.S. states and Japan and Canada. So there's nuclear sites all over. In 1945, the U.S. detonated the first atomic bomb, and the atmospheric radiation was released by this event, and it marked the beginning of what's now called the nuclear Anthropocene. So this is how our world becomes polluted, nuclear stuff and all pollution from the nuclear testings and all this, and that pushed the earth into this Anthropocene epoch, which epoch is just instant time chosen to mark a calendar era. So they say like 12,000 years of the Hemocene epoch is over. So now we're in the Anthropocene, and they said that we've been in there for like 1600s. I was looking this up. And it was saying how human interaction and human activity on the earth is what caused this Anthropocene. So the Anthropocene is like when there's too much activity or there's too much damage pushed on the earth by the humans. It's when there's an imbalance. So how I was saying I think it was Aquarius's reading about the ego and relationships, and when you put all your energy into one thing and not the other thing, how there becomes an imbalance. And Libra knows all about balance. There's an imbalance here with the earth and the humans, and spiritually as well. So physically, scientifically, spiritually, there's like a total imbalance with the masculine and feminine. So maybe lacking the feminine. With the feminine side of us, we all have, whether male or female, both masculine and feminine sides. The feminine side is like planning and we're going to do this and getting everything in order. And the masculine part is the action, the actual, okay, we plan this, now we're going to do this, starting with this. So, human activity has been impacting the earth since the early 1600s. Now, what happened then? Now, there's things, truths that this all has to do with, like, because the owl we brought up from the beginning is a symbol of deception. Some say that the owl's wings are, well, they say wisdom, but the owl's wing feathers are deception, because in the dark night, you can't even hear an owl coming. It'll deceive you. But this is saying how we, Libra, cannot be deceived at this time. You can see right through. And we'll talk later how to spy a lie. This all ties into this somehow. So this now with Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, the humans are starting to see, we're starting to work together for humanity and the earth, and it's starting to be more about the people. I have a whole video on the Great Conjunction, if you want to know more about the energies that are coming, that are here. And it's a big switch. The last 200 years we've been in earth energy, now we're in air. So back to this Mark Kavanaugh. He weaves this complex narrative that Jane Wilson writes. She says, encompasses not only the desert site of the first atomic explosion, but the post-war suburbs that expanded rapidly in its shadows. Not only laboratories that buzzed with thrilling scientific discoveries, but the homes where the cost of war was actualized in the slow decay of uranium isotopes moving through newly cancerous bodies. Yeah, this radiation is poisonous. It causes cancer. Even our phones give off radiation. In France, children under the age 12 can't even have a cell phone because the cell phone emits harmful radiation, especially to children because their brains are smaller. When they did these testings about cell phones to see, if they're dangerous or not, they tested a 220-pound military man's head, and that's what they deemed it safe. But if they would have took a woman's head, like a natural, normal head like mine, or a baby's head, Devra Davis, D-E-V-R-A, Davis, does studies on the female and a regular man's head and a child's head with the radiation, with the phones, and it's totally proved that it's unsafe. Unsafe, even for us. Even your cell phone, underneath general information about what you should know, says that you should not hold your phone within 6 inches because it is dangerous. That's why I always put it on speakerphone now. You see LeBron James has that cut right here above his ear. He had radiation poison from his phone, brain surgery, and Sony actually paid him off not to say anything about it. So that's why we don't hear about this, because they don't want you to know. But there are studies scientifically proven that this is true. Y'all can look at that up. So, we must research, and sometimes we find out lies. We find out the truth by figuring out a lie. Okay, we figure out that cell phones are really harmful, so then we go digging for the truth, and we find it. That's how I found it, by finding out it's a lie. So, there's risks that we got to take that could be dangerous. We must have self-control and focus at this time. That's what this fluorine, it's our next element, says. Fluorine's number 9 on the table. And this walks in line with life and death, creation, destruction. Same thing we're talking about. As quick as it comes is as quick as it goes. So, this is telling us it would be wise not to get too close or to hold too tight. And our reward for this spacious humility would be a chance to encounter life's deepest truth. So, which that stood unchanged beyond all the things since the beginning of the time. The truth is the truth in the beginning, and the truth is the truth in the beginning, middle, and end. The truth is always going to be the truth. So, if I have information here and I said, okay, this is the truth, but then somebody else comes up with information saying, well, look, here's information, this is not true. And okay, well, this is factual information that proves that this is not true. So now my beliefs change. So this is like that. So at that moment, we generally participate and enter into the wild heartbeat of our world. So, to spy a lie, I was watching this YouTube video by this CIA lady that does these, it's called Spy a Lie. They do, I think there's a TV show. But there's definitely a book. And she writes like 6 key factors to say, like, how we can figure out a lie to tell, like, the distinctives, to the distinctive keys. So, yeah. That you can, okay, so from a person's verbal or nonverbal could tell a lie. Their bias, their invasiveness, aggressiveness, whether they're conveying information or trying to convince you of something could tell as a deceptive indicator. Analyze versus speculate. That's what we're supposed to do at first, is analyze the situation instead of speculating. Like, I'm analyzing your body posture. I have my hands crossed. Okay, so I don't want to automatically first think, oh, this person's closed off, she's a liar. What if I'm cold? Or what if I'm angry at something? Or, you know what I mean? So that's why you have to first analyze the situation. Did my arms cross before, after I was asked the question? You know, things like that. So it's very important, and you already have it in your gut that you know how to spy a lie, I guess, or if it's in reverse, maybe we need to learn how to spy a lie, or we need to watch out for this somehow. The truth matters. So, on to our next and last element, Darmstadium. Darmstadium was also in reverse, so you can think of the opposite, or not enough, or too much, or just that it came out that way. Darmstadium is a transacticide. Now, transacticide, let's see. So, yeah, this is number 110 on the periodic table. So, they call this, like, Polizeium, because in Germany, you know how our number for the police is 911? In Germany, it's 110. So, they say that this is called Polizeium. And it's extremely radioactive. And, so, the transacticide. So, what more was there left late in the periodic table? A strange variety of elements, super heavy, human-made, disciplined group of marbles known as the transacticides. Here we go again with the discipline. Dazzling for only an instant, brought into this world through a violent cascade of intoxicating skills, these transition metal elements were pressured by overwhelming forces to appear merely for our observation. We summoned these glittering exceptions of nature into existence through nuclear tricks and arts, preposterous hybrids, sensational novelties unique to Earth's history, whose precisely calculated presence barely managed a landing. Once here, the emptiness from which they came soon closed in on them. Like duranium comes and it's here and it has a half-life of 10 to 12.7 seconds, I think. So it's here and then it's gone. So, I guess that could be a good thing, especially if it's something bad. If it comes, you want it to go away right away. Something radioactive, something like this. You want it to go away right away. So, late in the table, Darmstadium appears. This energy slams into the cosmic bell. You see, even on the card, there's a bell up there. Like it makes a sound. But, quick, instant. This energy slams into the cosmic bell, which chimes for just an instant. a secret internal reverberation from our true home, barely audible yet unmistakable. This tiny sound is the second millennium disappearing into the infinitesimally small emanation. At the dawn of this new cosmic cycle, Durham Stadium's unfinished and highly experimental noise has taken its place. So this new era marches forward with an unprecedented speed. No longer hearing the earth's sounds, the warnings of the hidden, or the universe's fully accomplished voice calling to us from the realm of eternal affection. Once so dear to us, we have long left these radiant, loyal, wise, and humble energies behind. In their place lies the hungry, sleeping dog, Roentenium, a captured and civilized pet, no doubt bred to worship its masters as the new hero gods. It kind of sounds like our world, how we were like bred to like work for the people who own the United States Incorporated. So we have to remember that these are also synthetic, human-made, man-made, and this is also a group. And these transactinites, again, were brought by violent and radiation and to appear for our observance. So what came, it's like in order to get all the way up, you have to go all the way down. It's like a spring. Like in order for it to spring all the way up as high as possible, you have to come all the way down first. So that's how I kind of, that's the analogy I kind of use with this situation, because that's how it is. That's how it's showing me. So there's no way to get to the highest point unless you're at the lowest point first. So that's what we're looking into now. That's why it's very important we investigate and stuff like that. Now, the griffin stood as like protector or guardian of like the tombs, because there was like bones stolen or something. I know they put them on tombs, and that it's a symbol for courage and alertness and power, like self-power. And this was a safeguard protector for the kings and lords and the gods. It also is a symbol of leadership and emperorism. You know, the emperor not only takes care of everything else, the garden, the house, and the protector of the kids and everything else, but the emperor also has to be responsible for himself. And that if he's not in good shape, then he can't take care of his deeds. So, back in the time, this was a symbol for Saint Mark the Evangelicus. They had the book on the bottom of the lion with the text that read Pax tibi Marci Evangelicis Meus, which meant peace unto you, Mark my Evangelicus. That when he founded the Christian church in 1828 AD. So all these dates has something to do with them. We have to research. There was the Cassites. Some reason the endonyms, again, internal endonym and an exonym. Endonym is like a name or like what you call yourself or a group inside. And an exonym is a common external name for that group or person or language, dialect, like the Kassites. The Kassites were a group of people, the ancient Near East, to control Babylonia after the fall of the Old Babylonian Empire in 1595 BC and until 1155 BC. So, and all this has something to do with this. But definitely we are a product of our environment. So the same as like what goes inside is how we are outside. And that brings me to this sea glass. Sea glass is formed by simply silica, like sand and other minerals that are molten together into a liquid and then shaped into like a beer bottle or whatever, cooled back into a solid. This is like, itself can be a symbol of how like a person's life, how we are, it's a common background, how the backgrounds can transform us into like beautiful precious gems. So sea glass has gone through two extra steps, because after it was a bottle, it was broken and thrown away, and then all the edges and everything were smoothed down. So this is like deemed worthless and thrown, left to the elements of the sea and the moon and the rain and the tides and everything to make this magical. This is calmness, tranquility, peace. When you think of the ocean, you know, the reactions of the ocean water, and it loses its hard edges. So this is kind of sort of what tribulations and trials do to us. It smooths our edges. And it's become a gemstone of all sorts and helped by man. Sea glass has lost some of its minerals and silica from being physically worn away. So when we lose some of ourselves, we have to remember to give that like selfishness and adversaries and like our negative shadowy self, we give that back. We don't want that. Offer that selfish behavior and prejudices and sloth, which I had to look that up. Sloth is supposedly one of the 7 deadliest sins, which is spiritual laziness, which brings me to the last part. And that's basically how we're shaped. So we are mankind, and partly shaped by our relationships, and we should also in our interactions with people, but we should also be shaped by our spiritual. We need to our interactions with the gods, goddess, creator, whatever you deem your divine, you know, that is just like the silica and the minerals. We are part of earth, but through our interactions we grow stronger and useful, shaped and molded. So, however, we do need the final finishing interactions with our deities so our edges can be smooth. They teach us that we are not all-knowing, and that wisdom, no deeper wisdom and no real knowledge comes without spiritual from the Great Spirit, or without God. You know, there must be inner beauty to reflect outwards. So spiritually, we need to, inside, we must allow faith to shape us. So we too must be spiritually buffed and shaped. So the eagle will help us too, because that's like a connection with the divine. So remember to take heart, gather your courage, and dream big, because in life, as well as there's highs, there's lows. And we get through the trials and trusting with the Great Spirit or God, trusting that there's a divine plan. So I went a little over time, but we're fiercely attacking our personal fears, and we can't do that with the help of the Great Spirit. So definitely January, The journey will not be easy, but it will improve through your struggles. Your struggles will be improved, like broken glass improves from trash to treasure. So that's like the sea glass is like us. So maybe we need to go get some sea glass and meditate on it. All right, Libra, thank you so much. Go from fear to freedom. Face your shadows so we could be free like the birds. Love ya. Mwah. See you next month.